Well, good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Andrew. I work on the video team at Summit Ministries. And one of the best parts of our job at Summit is getting to find and share stories. It might be stories of students who have come to student conferences, they've attended our gap year program, attended Summit Online, they've done our curriculum, or just interacted with Summit at some point along the way. And getting to see where those students came in, how Summit walked alongside of them for a time in their life and then stuck with them, continued on in their journey. It's just one of the best things that I get to do. I hope if you're joining us, you just finished the live premiere of our film Playing in the Best Space with Rhett Armstrong. This was a really fun project that we got to work on this last year. So thank you for joining us for this live stream inside the story where we're just going to go a little more in depth. But I'm so excited to bring on my friend Rhett Armstrong, who is joining us tonight from Waco, Texas, and he is at Baylor. Rhett, thanks for being here tonight.
How's it going? Thank you so much
Good.
for
How are
having
you?
me. I'm
Yeah,
doing
for
great.
sure.
I'm doing great.
Well, thank you. Thanks for just being a part of the film. Just getting to be, share your story and be okay with us. Just being a part of your life, popping up here, there, and everywhere, filming you at games and your time at Summit and all of that. It was a
Absolutely.
blast.
Yeah, Summit was a very transformational part of my life, and I really believe in it. And I think that everybody should know about it. So I'm super excited to share, some of my journey as well as how Summit impacted that journey.
Yeah. Well, there was a little football event that happened 2 days ago. I know you watched the Super Bowl. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts were on the game.
Yeah, I mean, as a Coloradan, as a Broncos fan, I think anytime the Chiefs lose, it's a great day. Um, And I think that anytime a kicker goes 3 for 3 in a game, it's also a great day. And so I know it was a pretty boring game for some people, but I really enjoyed those two those two facts coming together.
Yeah, and you again as a kicker, you have a unique perspective on the game, and you were sharing just a bit about what made the game potentially challenging for the Eagles kicker. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, it was a really, really weird scenario with the long snapper and his pregame or pre-snap routine, I guess, for lack of a better term. But they called some false starts on the Eagles on every single field goal that Elliott tried. So he actually made 6 field goals, but only 3 counted because they called, a false start on the Eagles each of the first 3 tries. So he actually kicked a lot better than the stats show for him, and that just shows his mental toughness is through the roof, and of a professional, really.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And I love that perspective because so often we're maybe watching other parts of the game or other parts are more glorious. Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me as we were going through this film was just your position is one of you have these moments where everything kind of comes down to you and there's a lot of eyeballs on you at those specific moments.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a blessing for sure, right? To get to be in that center stage and have a simple action create a very large reaction. That is a platform for us to share what we believe in, right? Because no one really is in the spotlight like kickers sometimes, and so we're given a blessing, and the preparation we put into it makes it exciting when you get the chance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things that as we produce any film, there's a lot of stories that we get to hear. There's a lot of parts of the story we get to hear that we just don't have time to share in the finished film, or else it would be a way longer story. And so, I mean, my team and I, we just got to spend a lot of quality time with you and your parents and your mental toughness coach. We just kind of invaded your life for a little while. And one of the things that, just hit me as we were going through the edit on the film, and as we were kind of putting the story pieces together, was yeah, this is a film about Rhett, sure, but in some ways, I found myself so drawn to your parents and just sharing their story and their perspective, and just when we were sitting down with them, they were at the point where one chapter, one season of life was coming to a close. Your time at home, your time in high school, and they're sitting there reflecting on, um, man, I
Hmm.
hope Rhett is ready for this next step in life. And yeah, as a dad myself, that just really hit home. I think particularly just as your mom was sharing of, man, I
Absolutely.
hope we've done everything for Rhett to own his faith.
They're
What would
wonderful,
you?
aren't they? By the way,
Yeah, I love your
side note,
parents.
they're great.
You're in Texas now, so I'm just gonna go hang out with your parents
I know
in
they
Colorado
they would
Springs.
take you. They would take you in a heartbeat.
When you kind of think back, just on growing up in that home, I mean, what do you what comes to mind as far as how your parents helped prepare you to launch into the world, to launch as a believer, and not become a statistic in that?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I've been here a month, and I think, I've really realized that a lot of the lessons that they taught me and my brother have really become almost like a default that a lot of other kids I've noticed don't have. The way I've been taught to treat others, especially like professors, people of authority, the way I've been taught to just go about life, in general, and what matters to me, is not necessarily the default reaction of other people. And when they get into the college space, they, search for what they want to do. Whereas, I'm kind of like, oh, I love to, make quality friends and meet quality people, and I address people with yes sir and no sir because that's just instinct, right? Like things I never thought about back home, have become really apparent to me here that, that's what they intended, and it's cool to see it play out because it does set me up for success. It makes me stand out a lot with something I didn't even realize that I'm doing that's different, right? So I think when they were intentional, and I had no idea, it's really, paid off for me. I'm really thankful to them for that, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing. I love that. Um, and knowing your parents, getting to chat with them, I know that they were intentional about that training. Um, One of the easy metaphors for us in this film was just seeing the parallels of you as an athlete training. If you didn't watch the film, Rhett is number one ranked field goal kicker in the nation in his high school years. Um, so just pursuing excellence as an athlete, training physically, mentally, but also spiritually. And a piece of that was you coming to Summit and attending a student conference last summer. You're a few months down the road from that. Would you share, maybe reflecting back now, um, what are some of the things that have stuck with you from that experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Summit gave me a really good baseline for how to dissect some of the modern issues. We don't really have to go too deep into that, but I'm sure, you can name them on both hands, the really important ones. And I don't want to become, another statistic. And I think the reason that happens is because in college you're immediately challenged on the little things that you believe in that make you start to question the big things. And so, I really had a good basis for, understanding where I come from. Summit's not a place that's going to tell you how to think. It's going to tell you, you know, sorry, Summit's not a place that's going to tell you what to think, but it does explain to you how to think. And so, you're led to make your own opinions on things, not just what the Summit speaker is telling you, is right and wrong. And so, I've developed my own opinions. I'm really happy that, I have a strong basis for when a teammate comes up to me and asks about, is this right or wrong? I can say, this is right or wrong, and give an explanation why. And I'm not a pushover in that sense, and so no one wants to feel like they're a pushover being shoved around, and you gotta take the time to make sure you're focused on what you believe in, and before it ever happens, before you're ever challenged in that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of parallels of that too, from life to football as well. Of you're not walking up to the kick, deciding in the moment how you're going to respond, how you're going to
Exactly.
you've pre-made decisions, you've prepared, you're not just winging it and hope the Holy Spirit comes through for
Spot
you.
on. Spot
Yeah.
on.
So one of the things, as we were getting to know you, Rhett, this last summer, you had kind of been planning on a certain college journey for a while. Your plan sort of went out the window. Tell us a little bit about that journey this last summer of figuring out, man, where are you going for this next step in life?
Absolutely. Yeah. I felt going into my junior season that I was led to the Air Force Academy, as a lot of Colorado native kids are. It's right in our back door. It's got a lot of amazing things about it, a lot of amazing Christian people and opportunities, and so I really felt that's where I was called to be. And through some growing up in the course of a year and some soul searching, I was like, wow, I don't think that's where I want to be anymore, and I don't think that's what I want to do. The military track's not where I feel like I'm going to be most effective in my faith walk. Not that I don't think I could be effective, wherever it may be, but I really felt called to try to pursue a school in Texas, and so we took the leap, the decommitment, had no other options, no other plans. God really came through for me and gave me a lot of chances to kind of make it happen, which was neat, to earn it in my sense, because a lot of coaches reached out and gave me camp invites, chances to go and kick in front of them, and and kind of seize those moments, right? So it was a really fun journey, a road trip over this last summer, through Texas, Oklahoma, and then over to Tennessee. And I really felt like it was going to be a Texas school, but those were the schools that reached out, and I was all open to opportunities, and so just one camp to another, kicking, trusting, some better than others, and some coaches I liked more than others, and as it would turn out, my favorite camp was Baylor, and then they offered, and so I couldn't resist. I knew where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. I remember you sharing as well just a bit about how your summit experience helped with that decision as well. Do you mind sharing about that?
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I met a couple great friends, who were all planning on coming to Baylor as freshmen in the fall. So I hung out with them through that whole week at Summit, and I really realized that, you know, I love the people I met in high school, but they were very different kinds of people than most of the people I met in high school, and so, uh, I was searching for how do I find these types of people again, and the obvious answer was, go to a place like Baylor, and if you can go to Baylor, then do that for sure. And so, I've really enjoyed, reconnecting with some of those people, and really finding a whole group of friends here I'm blessed with in this first month that all, align with some of my values and think a lot like I do, and we can talk about almost anything, immediately, and it's only been, a short time, like I said. So it's very clear to me that college is the place that you make lifelong friends, and you get challenged, but you also overcome the challenges, alongside other people, just like that summit week.
Mm. Yeah, well said. Another piece of last summer that just made it busy and maybe a longer road trip yet was you went to Canada. And you were representing, if you watched the film, you saw some scenes from that, but you were part of the Team USA, um, kind of handpicked high school students, um, representing the USA in football. And share a little bit about that experience, because we get a little taste of it, but I mean, there's a whole story there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, it was a very I don't know how to exactly describe it, but it was a very eye-opening experience. There was a lot of emotional swings, a lot of high points, then adversity, seemingly days after, and so for me to be in another country with people that I didn't really know. My parents didn't come down until the second week that I was there. And so I was, kind of on my own there for the first week in another country with people I hadn't met before, and kind of doing those things for myself that you need to do as an athlete. Make sure you have the things you need and all of that throughout the practices. Practicing every day and those things. Advocating for myself. I learned a lot of skills kind of immediately, which was really rewarding. And so we felt ready, for that first game, and it went great. We beat that team by a lot, and it was wonderful. So we got pretty high, and then little did we know, 4 days later, we'd take a pretty tough one to Japan, I believe, and that kind of garnered pretty national spotlight. So you go from pretty high on the mountaintop. We just beat another country in our sport. Like we're America, we're the best, right? Because it's American football. It's how that's supposed to work. To these really really fast, smart guys, who are all great people, by the way. And I actually still keep up with a couple of the Japanese guys. They beat the crap out of us, and so that was tough because it garnered a lot of media that I'd never been, a part of, and it made me realize that when you play at higher levels, the higher you go, the more people see it, right? And then begs the question: who are you going to let into your space? Who's going to speak influence into your life, right? Not just football, because I'd never had anyone really speaking influence in my life other than my immediate family, coaches, teachers, and a couple other friends, right? So now you have people trying to talk to you and direct messages and however else they can get a hold of you, telling you you're not good at something, you shouldn't even come back to America, you don't deserve it, right? I mean, who knows who's kidding and who's not? You can't tell over text, right? So just learning how to decide, these people weren't on the field with us, they don't matter to how I see myself, how God sees me, and what I do in my sport. So I matured very quickly in 2 weeks. I think my parents would tell you that. I don't think I'm the same. I gained a lot of confidence through the failures that we had as a team, for sure. On that national stage, and in the end we'd go on to lose another game. And the same thing happened again, right? But I was a lot more prepared for it towards the end there, and I ended up making a lot of quality friendships with those guys. Hopefully, spread some light around that area, and hopefully left Canada a better place than we found it, even though we didn't get what we were going for, right?
Yeah. I it's so interesting just to think of you going from, playing at a high school level, obviously you're going to nationwide camps and being ranked and things like that, but all of a sudden being thrust into, you know, not just national but international spotlight. And I went back and looked at the post on X announcing the final score against Team Japan, and it was like 910 comments,
Yeah.
and they weren't very nice.
Not at all, right? Yeah.
And so yeah, just so many lessons, I imagine, in yeah, probably more lessons in losing
Hmm.
than winning.
What a privilege, right? To have that many people care about the outcome of something you participate in.
Wow.
What an opportunity, for sure. And to get to learn from that and be on that stage, like I don't think a lot of at the time 18-year-olds get to do that. And so I count it as blessing now. In the moment it was a lot harder, but I definitely have a different outlook now than I did then.
Yeah, I'm guessing, I don't know, did that spark any conversations with your Team USA teammates? Just maybe observing how you were responding to this public loss versus maybe how they were processing that.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I think we all definitely grew up together, and there was a lot of conversations for sure. And we definitely bonded over it. It was kind of like us versus everybody, and there was a lot of nights in the hotel, playing Madden on the Xbox. Somebody snuck in, or whatever that. There was some conversations there, and I think I had a chance to speak life into some guys. To be honest with you, I regret not doing it more. I think there was a couple that I had great conversations with, but in hindsight, I don't really see why I didn't do that more. Um, so also part of the learning experience for sure.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just so grateful for, I guess, how you've been trained and how you've come to see your relationship with football. I remember you sharing a little bit about in younger years uh, having an ankle injury and kind of what that taught you in the midst of adversity there. Do you
Yeah.
mind sharing that story with us?
Yes, for sure, for sure. Yeah, after my freshman season, I was dealing with an ankle injury throughout all of the freshman season. I didn't know what it was. Got the MRIs, X-rays, and there was an extra bone on top of my heel. It happens about 20% of people, but they don't notice it unless they're doing things where you have to, point your toe at force, like kicking. And so, um, football kickers and ballerinas are really the only two, facets of life that really even notice they have it. And it was fraying my Achilles. So, a lot of pain in that freshman year of kicking. And so, I had a lot of questions. Obviously, for me, the first one is, you're born with an extra bone that only really affects the thing you feel like you're born to do. That really makes you start thinking a little bit about, what's going on here, right? Like of all the things, right? Why is this what I have going on? It's a little easier to accept an accident, but it's definitely not an accident, right? So had the surgery, was still kind of coping with, why is this going on? Why is this going on? And through the rehab and all of the different things that come with getting something taken out of your foot, I really learned, first, like, who my real friends were, the people that went out of their way to come visit me, when I was bedridden for, a month, the people that would, you know, help me out with my backpack at school and, just went out of their way for me. I really developed really close friendships with a couple people through that. And, I'll never forget what that felt like to be that kind of loved, and then secondly, I had to take a long break from football. It was like 4 months, which for some people, that's on the shorter end of like surgical injuries. But for me, that was pretty devastating because I didn't really have anything outside of football that I was really doing, enjoying, seeing myself in. So, um, you know, I count that experience as, a way of God telling me you need to find other things to enjoy, or you know, you're gonna hate this sport, or it's gonna consume you. The burnout or the consumption, and you really don't want either one, right? So, over the course of the 4 months, I really started to like who I was, outside of football, and develop better friendships, develop better faith in God. I started doing a lot of, studies in my journal over that time because I was in bed a lot. My mom and dad were super helpful with that. I think we watched The Chosen, a lot during that time, which was great. If you haven't seen it, you should. Wonderful, wonderful series. It's still going, I think. But it's when you get something taken away from you for that long, that was like kind of all consuming. It's definitely a gift in the end, and it not even just the like not playing the sport, but I was number one on the rankings at that time when I had the injury, and then 4 months out I dropped to like 40 something, in most of the rankings, right? So I'm just watching myself disappear basically as I can't go to these camps and, compete for those spots. I just can't. And so, how discouraging that can be. It forced me to, find joy in other things, which God provided, right? Because He does provide when you look for it. It's easy to ignore, what He's trying to provide for us. But I was in a place of vulnerability, and I was willing to search. So, He really did provide in that time, and I'll never forget the lessons I learned in that. And even though I still can, at times find myself swaying to the, consumption side, as football is, even more a part of my life now. I do have that anchor still of, all right, Rhett, you're doing too much, you're thinking too much, God's got you. You get to play this. You don't have to. We enjoy this, and all of that. So I'll definitely never be the same person after that, and I really am thankful for God giving me something that would cause an injury that would cause exponential growth.
Wow, that's so well said, Rhett. And I think when you look around and see interviews, you may see films with professional athletes. Um, I can't help but oftentimes question, man, what would your life be like if this thing that you've built your life around got taken away from you? And I'm so encouraged by, I guess, how you see that time of trial as actually a gift from God to re-examine your relationship to football, to be grounded in what is most important in life, and that, yeah, maybe football is a huge part. I mean, you're gearing up, you're training to play it at a Division 1 level, so that's a big part of your life.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's not the only part of your life.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And I'll explain, like, a lot of my shortcomings come when I'm not full of gratitude, when I'm, feeling entitled, when I'm feeling like I should just be getting this, or, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. I'd rather be doing, these things. And, I had another pretty good perspective change not even 2 weeks ago. After our first week, it was really difficult academically. And, during the college workouts for the first time, was super, super tough, and I was definitely pretty down. Going into that first weekend, we had a football volunteer event with a organization that does a flag football game for like quadriplegics and other, kids that can't necessarily do athletic things like every other kid, right? So when you're pushing a kid around in a wheelchair, and they catch the ball, and you see that joy, at being able to just catch the ball, that simple action, like it really did change, like, for me, my perspective of, like, I get to do this thing called college football. I don't just suffer through it because I'm here. I might as well, right? Like, I get to attack it. And these kids would do anything to go through one of those workouts, or go to a college class with your athlete backpack on, right? Like, it's those little things that we take for granted, that I really got to see first person. Like, man, what are you like? Why are you thinking like this? Because you don't deserve to think like that. Like, tighten up, go have fun and enjoy it, right?
Man, yeah, that's amazing. What a cool experience. Um, Tell us a little bit more just what this current season looks like for you. You graduated in December.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be there when you signed officially for Baylor, um, and you jumped in kind of mid school year in January at Baylor. But yeah, you mentioned academically challenging, workouts are at a whole new level. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about this season for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a change going from your typical senior year, whatever classes, to here's your 13 hours of college classes, which I know isn't a ton, but for me at first it was like, whoa, this is weird. You're walking across campus, and the professors are different, and you're only going to class twice a week, but it's a lot faster pace and some online classes. So definitely managing the academics at first was a struggle, and there's a lot of stuff in place for us to manage that, and really really kind people here at Baylor to help me stay on track. And so using those resources, kind of humbling myself a little bit to go get some help, because I was definitely one of those people who prided myself on the academic side. Yeah, it was a little tough at first to be like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I need some assistance, but we did, and it's been a lot better since. And on the football side, I've never been in a room full of other guys who can kick as well. I've always been the only one, and so that competition aspect, I've grown to love it a lot more. At first it was a little daunting, but now I really enjoy going to battle with those guys. Then afterwards we'll go get a meal and chop it up, and we're all having a great time. So um, it's an adjustment, 100%. And a lot of people get a summer to kind of transition into it. I got my 3 week winter break, so here we are, right? And we're in the full swing of things, and spring ball starts up right after spring break, and that's full practices, and so it's very real, very very real.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you how are you avoiding not just getting sucked into that athlete track and making sure that football isn't the thing that consumes you above everything else right now?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a conscious effort I've had to make. When I'm a little bit tired over the weekends, don't really feel like it. That's really the only time I have to go and make friends outside of football, and go to church with people who aren't athletes, and really experience just the normal college life, and make the good decisions that you get to make when you aren't an athlete. And so I've been blessed with finding a really really good group of friends from all over the place. But I definitely made an effort to get to the dorms, because we don't stay in the normal dorms. We're in kind of an athlete specific area, which kind of alienates us, because I think the dorms are where a lot of the meeting happens, and the fellowship. And so hanging out over there, playing people and ping pong and whatever it is, and going to Canes, and In and Out is unbelievable here, by the way, I must say. But just spending those nights, with people I really enjoy, going to basketball games, that sort of thing, where I have this time here this spring to really branch out, meet people who don't know football, and really frankly don't care if practice went good or not. Like, that's good for me to have those people outside of the sport that I can talk to, who don't necessarily have all the information on it. So I'm definitely super blessed with the people I run into, but it has been an effort to find them, for sure, and I'm thankful for that, for sure.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing. As we wrap up here, Rhett, how can the Summit family come alongside you and just pray for you in this season? And I think of that transition, playing Division I football, and even just looking to the future, the questions of, hey, what's next in the next few years? How can we cheer and pray for you?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's apparent to me that God is showing me ways to become a spiritual leader on the team, ways that I'm not really familiar with or have experience with. And so I'd ask that anybody watching and the Summit team would just pray that I take some leaps of faith. Just go for it. You might look silly, you might sound dumb, but guys are honestly way more open here in this university setting than I think at high school, and people are really willing to have the conversations that I'm not really used to having. And so just kind of go for it. What's there to lose? You look like the religious guy. Oh no, that's kind of the point. So just
Yeah.
just for boldness.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. We will be praying for you in that and cheering. I think that's part of what Summit helps develop in young adults is exactly what you said: leadership and boldness. And
Absolutely.
yeah, you're a 2024 grad. I'm a 2010 grad, and it's just amazing to see the stories of young adults who have gone on to do high profile things, do make difference in the spheres that God has put them in. And so if you're watching and interested in either attending yourself or sending a student, we have Super Bowl 25 is a code for you to get $200 off. This is the season to sign up for one of our locations in Colorado or in Georgia, and we hope to see you there.
Do
It's
it.
a
Do
it's a
it. Do it. Do
transformational
it.
experience. Rhett says do it.
Super Bowl
um,
25. Sign up right now. Go
You're a
ahead.
better YouTuber than I am, Brett. Thank you so much. We really love getting to film with you and just share life for a season. I'm so grateful for a few of the team, Isaac Morris, Ben Brose, and we also had our intern, Lorraine Farron, help shoot and put this story together. And we just, I think we know it's a good story when we as a team walk away impacted by it, and when we definitely had that as we spent time with you and your family. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
It's been a pleasure, and we're cheering for you. We'll be watching Baylor from here and seeing where you go, and go Bears.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you, Summit.